There was a few topics then left over from last week on the status I put up. Where you guys, if you have any questions and things, and I'm going to go through a few of the ones that I left out and cover them in this video. First up, we're going to look at contest prep and advice. So this is going to be from my experience and my experience with my clients that I've put on stage. Okay, first point I would make would be to get a coach. Whenever you're looking for a coach for a show, I would always try and get one that's got experience in putting people on stage, prepping people, and preferably somebody who's done shows themselves. Okay, so take a look at how they've done, how they've looked, and how their clients have got on stage. Okay, I think it's pretty important to have a coach who has been in the same shoes before. Okay, sometimes if you get a coach or a trainer who hasn't been on stage such before, they may not get how you feel sort of mentally and physically in the last few weeks of your prep. Okay, so it's good to have somebody who understands and who's been there before. Okay, second point I would make would be time frame. Okay, so if you're going to go for a show, leave yourself as much time as possible when it comes to your data, so it's okay. I always like to leave about 16 weeks for prepping myself and my clients. That's kind of regardless really of how lean they start out. Okay, so obviously if you've got more body fat to lose, then you're going to need to leave yourself much more time to get lean. Okay, compared to somebody who's starting out relatively lean. But really, regardless of condition, I always get people to give it as long as possible. Okay, it allows you in the final few weeks to play about with a few things. You can do a few trial runs with your final few days, what you're going to do with your food and your water and stuff. Whereas if you leave it a bit late at 12-week preps, final few weeks you might be stressing out a little about your condition, so it's always good to be ahead of time. Okay. Third point I'll make is be realistic about your expectations and how you think you're going to do in your show. Okay, don't go into the show with a massive ego, thinking that you're going to stand up stage and you're going to walk away as a winner. Okay, some of these shows have got 40, 50, maybe 60. Even my category, there's 80 guys on stage at the same time. Okay, so the chances of placing or winning are pretty marginal. Okay, so don't set yourself up for a big fall. Okay, so be realistic with how you expect to do and things you got there. Okay, after your show, you might be able to get some judges' feedback on how you've done and how you've looked and such, depending on the show. Sometimes it's not always possible if it's got the calories are quite big. The other thing you can do is most of these shows now have photographers. Okay, so you should be able to get stage photos of how you looked on that day at the exact time. Okay, you might come off stage and you might have forgot to hold the pose, tense your legs, tense your back. You might have got to do some sort of small turn. So get your stage photos and criticize yourself and be real with yourself and be harsh on how you think you looked. Okay. Next point, don't worry about the competition leading up to your show. This is especially true if you're competing in local shows. Okay, you're competing against guys and girls that you may be familiar with, you may be friendly with. Okay, and they're posting up weekly photos of their condition and things like that. There's nothing wrong with that. That's entirely up to them. But stick to your own guns. Stick to what you're doing. Somebody with a different coach may be doing something completely different to what you're doing. Okay, it doesn't mean it's right. It doesn't mean it's wrong. Just stick to your guns and don't stress about what other people are doing. Next point, posing. Okay, this is pretty important. Okay, there's not really much point getting on stage if you don't know how to present your physique. Okay, you will get marked on your posing and your presentation, so it's something you've got to work on from an early stage. Okay, there's plenty of good physiques when on stage, and the posings let them down, especially when it comes to big competitions. And there might not be a lot between your physique to somebody else's beside you, and it could go down to how you've held yourself on stage, and your posing, and your presentation and such. Okay, so posing is pretty important. If needs be, get yourself a coach. There's plenty of them out there, and video yourself from 8, 9, 10 weeks out and work on it and have it down to a complete T of what you're going to do on the day. Okay. Next point I'm going to make, and this is going to lead into my next kind of question or topic, okay, is peak week. So whenever it comes to peak week as such, this this really depends on how lean you are, okay. If you're not where you should be with your condition, then it doesn't really matter what you're going to do in peak week. You're not going to lose a massive amount of body fat. It's not some sort of magic. It's not going to happen 7 days before your show. It's a myth, okay? It's just not going to happen, okay? It doesn't matter how much white fish and how many liters of water you drink. If you're not lean, it really doesn't matter at all, okay? So first thing, make sure you're ready, okay? Second thing, um, again, this is something that should be practiced long before 3 days before your show. So you've got to know exactly what works for you and your body. Okay, so if needs be, as where the time frame comes into it again. Okay, if you've left yourself time and you're lean enough to trial, say 2 or 3 weeks, before you show, then you've got to have it worked out exactly what you're going to do with your water, with your carbs, your salt, whatever you're going to do, what you're going to eat on show day, what you're going to do the night before. You want to have that exactly to a T to what you're going to do. If you leave it to the last minute and you haven't practiced this and it's just your first show and you're guessing, if it goes wrong, you're going to get on stage and you're not going to look good at all. Okay, I've seen so many um, guys and girls 2 or 3 days before the show look razor sharp, and then come show day and you're just shaking your head as to what they've done in the couple of days before the show. Okay, so it's pretty important that you get it right as such. Okay, so that's going to lead me on then into my next topic of peak week and water manipulation, carb loading, and things like that. So we're going to take a look at water manipulation, carb loading, salt loading, and such for peak week. So typically this is a week before a photo shoot, or before you're getting on stage as such. Okay, um, probably find that people doing a lot of mad things throughout this week, drinking um, ridiculous amounts of water, really high carb load days, cutting water, um, depletion workouts, things like that are probably what you associate with a peak week as such, okay? And a lot of that kind of stuff is kind of a myth, if you want to call it that, okay? There's really not a lot of research or anything to back up um, any of these ideas. So we're going to take a quick look at exactly each one of these topics as such and see is there really any need for this kind of thing. First point to make, I made it earlier, if you're not lean enough, then peak week is not some sort of magic pill that's going to miraculously get you shredded in 7 days. Okay, if you're not lean, um, do not expect to be significantly leaner in 7 days time. Okay, it's really not going to work like that. So the best thing to do is to get ready, get as lean as you can for your show, and then peak week is really just a coasting week. Okay, the only people who are really sweating over peak week are the ones who aren't ready. Okay, and they're looking for kind of a quick fix. To bring them in time, okay, for their show. So let's take a look at some water loading strategies and what people may do, okay. So with the whole water loading thing, there's kind of a bit of a confusion to what you're actually trying to achieve. So you may hear of guys trying to dehydrate themselves and things like that there, okay. That doesn't even really make any kind of sense, okay. If you think of what your muscle cell is holding is 70% water, okay. So 70% of your water in your body is in your muscle cell, okay. 30% outside that, okay. So water makes up a large amount of volume in your muscle cells. So if guys are talking about dehydrating themselves and getting rid of water, and you're going to lose 70% or as much as you can from your muscle cell, you're going to look soft, you're going to look flat, and you're going to look smaller. Okay, so dehydrating just does not make any sense. Okay, um, so typically throughout your prep, your water intake should be higher than normal. Okay, the best way to get rid of water, such as to drink more water. Okay, water is the best diuretic out there. Okay, and without any need for tablets or anything like that. There. Okay, so your water intake should be higher than normal the whole way throughout your prep, and that really should not change as you go into peak week. Um, so we're going to take a look now at sodium manipulation and what you do with your carbs in peak week as such. Okay, so whenever it comes to your salt loading or your manipulation, okay, if you have kept sodium or salt in your diet, throughout your prep, then you really shouldn't be changing that at all. Okay, there's really no need to take that out 2 or 3 days before your photo shoot or your prep. Okay, taking that out, you can mess about with your aldosterone levels as such. Okay, there's no real research out there to back up that taking your salt out or phenylbutyrate salt really makes any difference as such. Okay, in most cases, it actually makes it a lot worse, or make your physique on the day look 10 times worse as such. Okay, if you get it wrong, you can actually end up holding more water as such. Okay, so normally if you take your salt out and if you're working off a low sodium diet, this can actually kind of defeat the purpose then of carb loading as such. Okay, in your small intestine you do have a glucose transporter. Okay, this can be affected with a low sodium diet. Okay, so if your diet's low on salt, it can actually restrict the transport of glucose or carbs in your body. Okay, and what that means is one, your muscle cells aren't going to get full benefit from your carb load. Two, what this can mean is a buildup of food or glucose such in your intestine. Okay, what this can do then is it can actually pull more water into your stomach area, and that can then lead to bloating and extra water retention as such. Okay, so it can make you look pretty soft if you get it wrong. So my advice would be to just, if you've kept it in, keep it in, right up to your show. Same with your carbs. Okay, most people when they're in show prep or they're doing photo shoots as such, they'll be diet on low carb diets as such. Okay, and that's all well and good. There's nothing wrong with that. But um, if you're if you're going to drastically increase your carb intake in final week as such, you're going to completely mess up everything you've done. So if you've diet on low carbs, typically you don't really want to go over maybe 2 to 3 times your carb intake. So if you say if you're checking, you've diet on 100 grams of carbs over maybe a day or two before you show, you don't really want to be going over maybe 200, 250 grams of carbs. There's no real need to take on any more than that. There you'll end up overeating as such. Okay. So you'll find people as well doing mad depletion workouts. I've heard of people doing 3, 4, 5, 6 depletion workouts, and it's a bit crazy. Like, so it is. Personally, I do one, and with my clients, I just use one depletion workout. Okay, so for example, if they're getting on stage on a Saturday, Monday and Tuesday will be a typical normal day in their diet, and they'll train as normal. Wednesday, no carb day. They'll come in the gym on a Thursday afternoon. No carbs before the train. They'll do one workout, so they will, and then after the session, they'll spend the rest of the Thursday evening and Friday loading up on their set amount of carbs. So they'll have a day and a half of carb loading after one depletion workout. I don't like doing anything too drastic as such. There's really no need if you're lean and stuff. A small increase in carbs will more than suffice for your goals. Other points with your food, with your carb load, stick to food sources that you're accustomed to, that your body's used to eating. Okay, sometimes the people eat foods or carb sources, and they maybe have some sort of kind of intolerance that they're not sure of. You can actually end up bloating out on foods that they're not used to consuming. Okay, so my advice would be to stick to foods that you've used throughout your prep, so you know how your body's going to respond to that kind of food. Show day, whenever it comes to show day, if you need them, again, small amount of carbs, spread throughout the day, maybe with a protein source, small amount of fat. On show days or photo shoot days, I tend to use things like rice cakes, and things like that. There again, that's a self-assessment. Okay, going how you feel in the morning, and how you look and stuff. If you've got your carb load right the day before, then you should be good to go. Regarding water intake as well on your show day, you should be having some, especially with your meals and stuff, just mainly to help with digestion. Okay. So our next topic is going to be on the subject of what are realistic goals for weight loss slash fat loss, stroke, muscle gain. Okay. So let's look at the fat loss side of things first. Okay. Um, so whenever you begin the diet, your first week as such, and you've came from a pretty poor nutrition background, and you're going into sort of your new healthy eating calorie controlled diet. In your first week, you can't expect to lose much more than the weeks after. Okay, this is really down to water loss. Okay, mainly from within your muscle cells and stuff. So if you've been on a very high sort of carb, sugary diet, and you're put on a lower approach, then you're going to lose some water, just due to the lower carb approach. Okay, so we're going to look at things after that week as such. Okay, so typically after that week, in terms of weight loss, stroke fat loss, um, you should be aiming for about a percentage of your body weight per week. Now, in some cases that's not the case, and I find with a lot of my female clients who are say 8.5 stone, 9 stone, it's just not possible for them to lose um, that every week as such. Okay, I find their body weight doesn't really change a lot, so I'll go more off body fat percentage compared to body weight percentage. So I'll focus more on their skin folds rather than weight. Okay, so typically we're looking at this for say, for example, for somebody who's maybe 3 or 4 stone overweight, then they should be looking to lose about a percentage of body weight per week, and that's probably their best assessment tool at that time compared to body fat testing. Okay, body fat testing is good, but the leaner you are, the more accurate that will be. So somebody who's carrying a couple of stone extra of fat as such, I wouldn't stick a caliper test on them. It just wouldn't be accurate, and it's not going to make them feel too good. Okay, so in that instance, I will use body weight as their assessment tool, and maybe things like measurements and things like that there. Okay, so typically if a 200 pound guy, percentage of body weight a week, that you're talking about £2 a week as a very rough guideline. Okay, typically anything more than this, and you can guarantee that you're going to be losing some form of muscle tissue. Okay, best way to decide or know whether you're losing fat or muscle tissue. Okay, if you notice your strength in the gym starting to decline, okay, that's usually a pretty good indicator that you're losing muscle tissue. Okay, and in that case, you've got to address something such as should it be your food intake, increase your food intake slightly, bring down your training output. If you're doing cardio, trim it back a bit. So you've got to manipulate something to slow down the weight loss as such. But good guideline. If you're going on body fat, anywhere from about 0.5% to maybe a percent a week in some cases. If you're going on body weight, about a percentage as such. But it depends on the individual and things like that there. Okay. Whenever it comes to muscle gain, then this is completely different to fat loss in terms of time frames and expectations. Okay, so muscle gain can depend, or the speed of muscle gain, or how much you're going to gain, can depend on a few things such as your nutrition, your genetics, your work rate, your experience in training, and things like that. There. Okay, so generally somebody who's starting out new to the gym, their muscle gain should be quicker than somebody who's been training for a few years, taking into account that their nutrition and all that kind of stuff's where it should be. Okay, so we're making those assumptions. Um, so as a rough guideline for somebody look at muscle gain, okay, typically for the kind of experienced lifter, somebody who's been training more than 2 years, um, you would kind of typically look to expect to gain maybe anywhere from about half a pound to a pound per month of lean gains. Now, obviously, whenever it comes to muscle gain, you're going to gain a small amount of body fat, depending on your calories and things like that there. But typically, lean gain wise, if you're gaining any more than a pound, pound and a half a month, then you're doing something pretty special. So, you're somebody starting out new to the gym, they might gain, say, maybe up 2.5, £3 a month to begin with, but normally after a few months or up to a year, that'll slow down to the 0.5 pound per month. Generally speaking, okay. Generally speaking, muscle gain is a lot slower than fat loss. Okay, so we're going to move on into the final topic, the final question regarding basic tips when becoming a personal trainer, and we'll lead that into what to look for in a good trainer. Okay. Uh, Starting out, if you're thinking of becoming a personal trainer, I think it's important to kind of realize how saturated the market is. Okay, it's clear to see that literally anybody and everybody wants to be a personal trainer. nowadays. Okay, and it's all well and good, but um, it's leading to a lot of kind of issues and things out there, and there's a lot of trainers out there just kind of in it. But I think to see the £30 per hour, and I think it's an easy ride, and people are just going to chuck um, lots of money at them because they've got PT stuck after their name. So you need to kind of realize you've got to have a market. You're expecting people at the end of the day to come and pay you pretty good money, and they're going to expect a certain amount of kind of like results and things they got there. Okay. Um, Another point, whenever you're qualified as such, like, PT is kind of like a strange job in the sense there's no kind of clock in, there's no clock out. You're self-employed, you're your own boss as such, but that depends a lot on your own work ethic. Um, so you've got to be prepared for people that message you all times of the day, any kind of question, Facebook, WhatsApp, emails. There really is no real switch off time unless you really set that aside for yourself. So there's not you see a lot of trainers kind of advertising this whole 24/7 kind of social support thing, and I'm not really sure how they're doing it as such. They mustn't sleep or anything, but so people advertising that kind of thing is a bit silly. You do need you're kind of off time as such. I think some trainers are really bad for kind of prioritizing themselves, and they'll let their own kind of training and maybe nutrition slide just to fit in a few extra hours of work per day. So you've got to be good with your time management and be efficient in how you go about things and be organized as such. Okay. Um, Next point I've got down here is whenever you're working with your clients, whenever you get that stage, that people are booking in and they're coming in for consultations and things like that there, don't try and fool your clients, or don't try and kind of call their bluff as such, if you want to call it out there, or try and pick up their goals around and be realistic and honest when somebody comes to you. So they might come in, they might be chatting about their fitness goals and some of the things they're saying. They might want to lose a certain amount of weight in a certain period of time. Um, their goals and ambitions might be a bit more unrealistic. So I always try and be realistic with people and be honest with a time frame for their goals as such. Okay. Some things just aren't realistic in a 4, 6, 8, 12 week um, time frame. Okay, so be honest with your clients and start with their goals. Give them their time frames for whatever that might be. At the end of the day, they're paying you good money. Give them your honest opinion um, without the ego as such. Okay. Um, Another thing, don't try and make a lot of excess money out of your clients as such. There's a lot of the whole shakes thing going around where trainers are selling all these shakes to their clients, and kind of I think some of their clients maybe feel a wee bit enforced into taking these kind of products. Whenever it comes to my clients and their kind of their supplements list, they get the basics to what they need, and it depends a lot on their budget. So you've got to work with your client pretty closely whenever it comes to that kind of thing, and making it kind of as efficient as possible for them. So let's see what else we've got. Set aside some study time. This is going to overlap into my next kind of topic as well. So whenever you get your level 3 qualification, trust me, it's not enough to sit on. If you're looking to really stand out from the crowd, like if you go into most commercial gyms, you've got 15 to 20 trainers in the gym. They've all got a level 3 PT qualification, and to a client or a member of that gym, there's no difference between somebody in shape having a level 3 PT course and somebody who looks like they've never trained. You've both got the same qualifications. Okay, so you've got to really push on with your own education to make you stand out from the rest of the crowd. Okay, so set aside some study time each week, no matter what your topic is, or where you're really looking to take your PT sort of career. At the minute, mine's really going down the kind of the nutrition side of things. So I'm setting aside maybe 12, 15 hours per week, studying with my journals and my courses and such. I've just finished my precision nutrition, which took me about 4 months of study, and I'm now moving on to my first ISSN exam. So that's another 8 or 10 weeks of study, and then I should have that qualification. Then I'll kick on to the next thing after that. So kind of in this kind of industry, there's no such thing as knowing too much. Okay, you can never know enough, and you're never going to know it all. Okay, so study time, if you're really looking to get yourself out there, it's pretty important. So let's move on to tips on what to look for in a good PT. So what to look for? Again, this kind of depends on your fitness goals and what you are as a client looking for in a PT. Okay, so if the whole body transformation kind of thing is what you're after, fat loss, muscle gain, then you need to go and out look for a PT who has maybe before and after photos or testimonials, or has got a list of clients that have got results. Okay, so if that's your thing, that's what you've got to look for. There's no point going to a trainer who hasn't been able to change anybody's shape and paying them money because if they can't get anybody else's shape, then you're probably just going to end up wasting your money. So it's okay. So look for a trainer who's got some experience in whatever your kind of fitness related goal is. Should that be strength and conditioning, whether you want to go CrossFit? You've got to pick the gym and the trainer to suit your kind of goal. Okay. And with another thing here, with the whole world of social media at the moment, we've got a lot of guys and trainers and things putting out stuff on Facebook. So some of it's good, some of it's not. You as a client, it's hard to distinguish between what's right and what's wrong. There can be a lot of confusing things out there. One trainer might say one thing, and then the next trainer's saying the complete opposite. So take a look at the information they're putting out. If you want, do a bit more research into the topic they're talking about and see if they actually do know what they are talking about. Okay, so take on board what they're putting out in social media. Is it relevant to you, to your fitness goals, and is the stuff they're putting out helping you at the moment? Okay. Next kind of point then is qualifications. This kind of ties in with the whole study thing. Try and look for a trainer who has qualifications in a certain field as such. So if you are looking to go into the body composition, fat loss kind of thing, you might want to invest in a trainer who has maybe nutrition background. If you want to go into strength conditioning thing, you might want to get a trainer who's got some sort of strength conditioning qualifications. Same with the CrossFit guys and things get there. So you've really got to pick your field. Find a trainer who sort of specialises in your fitness goal as such. Find out a little bit more what they have in terms of qualifications, experience, things they got there, and then sit down, have a chat with them, see how they talk to you face to face, and basically go from there. But try and find a trainer that fits in with your fitness goals. There's really no point going to a trainer if you're looking fat loss and he's never worked with fat loss in his life and he's a strength and conditioning guy. Okay, most trainers will have a good general knowledge of a lot of topics, or they should have. Okay, but if your goal fits into one specific category, then maybe look for a trainer who's got a bit more experience in that kind of side of field of things. Okay, so thanks for watching this latest video blog. Hopefully give you insight to those topics as such. Okay, next week I'm going to go into, or maybe the end of this week, we're going to talk about cardio. So that should be pretty interesting, and we'll see which is better, when you should use it, and do you need it. Okay. Any comments or anything, just leave them in the comment section or message me on Facebook. Thank you.